Good afternoon, everyone. I take it that hype that hype was for me. We changed the mood a little bit. I'm very grateful to be here and to all of you. I'm seeing 68 people online for being here with us. Special good afternoon to Karina Coburn, the country representative of the IDB, our partner in this initiative, and to our feature speaker, Ms. Sharon Christopher, who is here with us. And I myself am looking forward to hearing your speech, Dr. Christopher. For those of you who don't know, I'm Nirad Tiwari, the CEO of AMCHAM Trinidad and Tobago, and it's a pleasure to be here again speaking at the launch of this program and to welcome you to our 6th edition of the Women in Leadership Mentorship Program. Of course, it would be remiss of me not to start with a little gratitude and say thanks again to the IDB for partnering with us, but to Karina in particular, because when I raised this with her some 7 years ago and said, you know, we need to do something a little more, we at AMCHAM, we feel like we need to do a little more than just have a conference every year, but actually take some more tangible steps to doing our part to address gender inequality. Karina immediately said, yes, let's figure it out. Let's make sure something happens. And we got here now 6 years later, where just under 200 people, 200 mentees have passed through this program. And when you add the 139 mentors, unique mentors, the numbers are in fact quite significant in just a short space of time in our little islands. So, you know we need to do a lot more, but we're happy that from just 9 mentees in 2017, I think we have 75 this year. And that's, again, a testament to how far we've come and the value that people are seeing. And also note, this is only for employees and owners of mentee companies. So we do sometimes have to turn away people who are from non-member companies. And as soon as our capacity increases, we would like to grow even further. But all of this wouldn't happen without the people who power it. Everything is powered by actual people. So let me extend some sincere gratitude to the team at the IDB, led of course by Karina, but I'm sure she would agree that this couldn't happen without Dory and Latoya and others. And on our end, I have to thank Rayanne Painter-Mendez, who owned this program from the time I asked her to take the lead for it. And we're introducing some new software this year that was her initiative. And she's shown real leadership and grit and a sense of pride in making this happen. So Rayanne, thank you for all that you do to shape this program and to make it happen, and not just treat it as another project that just needs to get done. There's a lot I could say, and I think it would be superfluous about why we're doing stuff like this. I did say that we want to, for us, gender inequality is one of the issues that we at AMCHAM feel strongly about. And the fact that we've had gender parity on our board for a number of years, I think it's going on 5 years now, the fact that we successively had 2 female presidents prior to this one, and the fact that we continue to host our Women's Leadership Conference that will be 10 years old. We'll be celebrating our 10th anniversary next year. And the fact that we, quite frankly, even call out some of our members and say that the gender representation on the boards of companies matters, and is not enough to talk about DEI, but to put it into practice. All we hope show our commitment to this issue. And why this issue versus any other issues? Well, one, we don't want to be the dog that barks at everything, but we feel if we address some strategic issues such as gender inequality, for example, we would be addressing an issue that is cross-cutting and unlocks value beyond just the work that we're doing on this single issue. And by that, we mean that we feel that the myriad of things that limit female participation at the highest level create a situation where we are not getting the most value in our businesses, in our companies, in our country, and from our people. And so if we can deal with the root causes of that, and if we can play a part, we can't do it alone, but if we can play a part and consistently shine a spotlight on this issue, and do things to address it, then the impact, if we start reducing gender inequality at the highest levels of the management and running of businesses in particular, but throughout society, then we feel that there would be, and of course, there's a lot of research to show this, right? And I'm sure Dr. Christopher will say this much more eloquently than I can, but we feel that the impact will be quite far-reaching and wide. And so it's an issue that is very dear to us and that we'll continue to work toward. So all that to say, we hope that you, the mentees and the mentors as well, will find this program beneficial and rewarding for your personal and professional development. I've heard a range of stories from mentors who assist people with some very deeply personal issues. No, they don't share who you are and what specifically you say. They just indicate that, you know, they experience covered a gamut of issues. And from mentees, you've seen some of the testimonials while you wait who have benefited tremendously from this experience. And we hope that you will also build lasting relationships that will help you, both mentors and mentees, throughout the years. And we've seen many mentees go on to become mentors, which is a great way of paying it forward. And we encourage you to think like that, because many of you who are seeking mentorship are yourselves leaders already in some form or fashion. And that's how the program will grow and sustain itself. So I want to thank everyone who's participating, who's giving up their time. And we really, really look forward to this being beneficial. And with that, I will hand over to my colleague and friend, Karina, who is the country rep of the IDB, to share her remarks on behalf of the IDB.
Thanks a lot, Nirad. Can you hear me well? Very good. Okay, well, I wish I had a background that allowed you to see me a little bit better. I feel like I'm a little bit, you know, shaded, but it's really a pleasure to be here this afternoon. Always a pleasure to be a part of this program. Nirad and I will remember when it started, you know, over a very short meeting that we had about how AMCHAM and the IDB could collaborate. And this was birthed out of that. And so it's really magnificent to see where it has landed today. I see that we have Sharon Christopher with us today as the guest speaker, which is something that has been added as we have expanded the program. We have a really interesting and knowledgeable guest speaker to get us started. I see many members of the team connected. Many of them have also participated as mentors and have helped to put together these partnerships, which blossom often into friendships, and even if not friendships, into professional partnerships that continue and evolve beyond the program. So really want to acknowledge the very hard work of Rhea and the rest of the team at AMCHAM, and of course, Dory and Latoya from our side. I think that this program is particularly important because it is addressing an area where we still see fewer women participating. We have been thinking from the very beginning about how to increase women participation in science and technology fields. We do see many advances in this area, many women looking to careers in those professions beyond the traditional medical professions, etc., more into IT, technology, research and development, organizational health and safety, etc. And economics is another one of those areas where we see much more interest from women and trust in themselves as valid participants in these fields. And this is important because not only is it important to have diversity, but also these are the fields that are going to help expand the economy and economic benefits for all citizens exponentially. And so we really want to continue to see development in terms of science, innovation, technology, and fields like these. In fact, much of the IDB's work right now is in the area of digital transformation. And we see there an opportunity to access significant economic benefits with which other countries have already begun to tap into, and which there is no reason that Trinidad and Tobago could not also take part in. And this is going to need both women and men to be strong participants in these fields. And of course, we see here not just becoming software developers, working on innovative new technologies, but also cybersecurity itself as an industry. Just today, I was speaking with some colleagues from UTT who are establishing the Caribbean Cybersecurity Institute, which is extending degree programs in cybersecurity. And this is one of the fastest growing industries. And here in Trinidad and Tobago, it's particularly critical because T&T is the most attacked country in the Caribbean. So, you know, it's not just about protecting our data and our systems, but the fact that we can build an industry based on training up ourselves and entering into this field. So we see great potential in this program to encourage that kind of activity. And if you're a woman who is thinking or maybe even hesitating about going into this field, I think that this program could really help and encourage you, because we have mentors who are making great strides in this area already. This is the 6th year of the program, believe it or not, Nirad. And I think the partnership has been incredible. It's been steadily growing. I wouldn't even say steadily, because such a big leap from last year to this year. I mean, we were at 40 last year, which we thought was big. And then this year we made another big leap to 75 mentees participating in the program. And incredible as well that we have been able to find 75 mentors who are willing to give up their time and energy to participate in these partnerships. And that speaks very well to the importance of the program and the recognition that leaders need to give back and pay it forward in this way as well. You know, this year, another change that was made is the implementation of technology to help us with the matching. sometimes we're afraid of technology and what it can do for us, but in this case, it's very important that we have this kind of initial matching step, and the records and data being tracked in the system of the mentors and mentees, so that we can enhance these partnerships and make them better. This is something that we're going to learn a lot from. In our work as well, we have been speaking with programs at the Ministry of Labor, for example, the OJT program, and they're still doing manual matching of individuals to jobs, and with many more candidates. And I think that something like this is going to be an incredible learning experience. So we can in turn advise them on what would be a good technique to use in terms of leveraging technology to make those processes better. So I think it's great that we've been able to use MentorEase in the program. So just quickly turning to the actual benefit of being a mentor or a mentee in this program. I think as a mentor, we've heard mentors say this very often, you learn as much from your mentee as your mentee may be learning from you, if not more. You learn to interact with people, you learn about people's thought processes and how they may think differently. And our role as a mentor is not to tell people what to do, but to share a little bit about our experience. And then they can take that away and integrate it or not into their decision-making process. For mentees, it's a way to have a kind of objective voice who's not directly involved in your current situation, who may have some interesting insights on what you're going through and experiencing, where you are, and helping you to get to where you want to be. I think you never ever lose sight of the value of having mentors around. I mean, no matter how senior you think you are or how much time you have spent in the working world, there's always something to be learned from a mentor or even a mentee, as I mentioned. Just a few weeks ago, I was hearing from a mentor of mine about carving out even 15 minutes a week, 15 minutes a week of quiet time to think about things, and maybe building out from that to carve out even more time to give serious thought to new ideas and how to be innovative and take a new approach to your work. I heard from a mentor recently about separating yourself from conversations you're in, even while you're in the conversation, going up to the balcony and looking down at yourself in that conversation and saying to yourself, am I really reacting appropriately? Am I getting too caught up in the exchange? Am I not listening enough? Am I speaking too much? And popping in and out of conversations, even while you're in it, to give that kind of listening ear to yourself so that you can be the best person in that conversation that you're having. And these are skills that we continue to hone and improve over time. And mentors help us to be aware that there may be these new tools and techniques that we can use to manage ourselves better in our interactions professionally. So I just want to encourage the mentors and mentees with us today to be really open to the experience. It's sometimes even if you meet only once during this time, I hope you won't. I hope you'll take the opportunity to meet as often as it's possible. But even if you meet only once, you might learn something very valuable that might help you in a future situation you find yourself in. So I really encourage you to participate as much as you can and get as much as you can out of this partnership. So best wishes, and I'm looking forward to hearing about how the partnerships went, all the experiences, when we meet again at the end of this program.
Excellent. Thanks, Karina. Thanks for those very practical, but starting big and bringing it down to the very practical. So, this, as we said, this program has been going on this is our 6th year. And we've had 139 unique mentors. Less than 10% of those mentors have been men, which is good that we have some men participating. I did it once. It probably wasn't the best mentor, but I tried. But to me, what it says is that anybody who tries to make the argument that they cannot find a woman to do something because there are none is either not looking in the right place, is willfully blind, or just doesn't know how. And that's one of the points that we make. You know, those of us who sort of look at pop culture and TV and movies would often marvel, I think, of the fact that in a setting where all of the characters look a certain way, except for one or two, those one or two have to be other things as well. So you could be potentially non-white and a woman and something, or you could be non-white and gay and this and that. So my point is that I have experienced where people have come to me and asked for suggestions for women to fill certain roles, but it's women who are this, and this, which of course takes you from a batch of X down to a batch of Y, down to a batch of A, down to a batch of B. And it sometimes is unreasonably, not totally, because on the face of it, it might be fine. But I think that we ourselves, those of us in positions of leadership and positions of power to make these decisions, maybe need to rethink how we create the description of the role and the criteria that we're looking for, so that we don't put ourselves in a position where we feel justified in saying, well, I looked, but I didn't find. When in fact, what we did is we crafted it in such a way that it was always going to be almost impossible to find the candidate with the 17 things that you wanted to start with, right? So that's something I've learned over the years, and I just wanted to share. But this, of course, is only valuable if people find value. So we would like to take this opportunity to kick the program off by hearing for the incoming cohort from someone who has had the experience of participating. And in this case, though, the multiple criteria works because we have someone who has been both a mentee and a mentor subsequently. She's well acquainted with the program. She first joined as a mentee in 2019 and later accepted as a mentor both in 2022 and 2023. So we're delighted to welcome back Samantha Singh Ramuta, who is Manager, Process Optimization and Automation, so Karina in Tech at Inca Services Limited. Samantha?
Hi, Nirad. Thank you very much for that introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I would like to say that I am truly honored for the opportunity today to share my journey through the AMCHAM and IDB Women in Leadership Mentorship Program. As I reflect on my experience, I am reminded of the incredible power of connection, guidance, and growth that this program has offered me. So while you see me here today, a mentor in this program, it's not something that I ever saw for myself. And while the thought of speaking in public makes most people cringe, more people are afraid of public speaking than that itself. Actually, most people probably prefer to be in the box than talking at the funeral. It's not something I ever thought I would be doing myself, nor something I ever considered. It's something that still makes me a bit uncomfortable. But if you ask anyone who speaks in public, most of them will tell you the same. So you're probably asking, what does this have to do with me? Well, everything. What if there's a future ahead of you that you haven't even thought about? Like, how many of you feel that you're stuck where you are, or you can't see beyond tomorrow, or the next week, or the next month, or even the next paycheck? But how many of you would like to embrace a future that has not been defined yet, but is there for your taking? And that is what I have today. And it started off as my first encounter with this program. My journey began during a time of immense uncertainty, when the world was grappling with the challenges brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. It was in the midst of this uncertainty that a colleague, who's also a mentor this year, Jason George, introduced me to the Women in Leadership's mentorship program. With an already busy schedule and a degree to complete, I questioned whether I could manage one more commitment. With no preconceived expectations, I took a leap of faith, signing up for the program as a mentee. Skepticism did linger, but I had nothing to lose by trying something new. But about 2 months into the program, I was faced with a sudden job loss. So after 15 years, I found myself at a crossroad, wondering how to navigate this unexpected chapter in my life. But what I didn't expect was the level of support I got from my mentor, Gail Alex Solomon. Our parents seemed as if we were destined to work together. She illuminated the countless opportunities for growth that laid ahead, even when I couldn't see them myself. I will be forever grateful for her insightful perspectives on life, business, and everything in between, offering unwavering encouragement. Through her guidance, I found a path out of what had seemed like an unending dark tunnel. So to my mentor, I say thank you. Without you, my life would not have been the same. My journey as a mentee not only met, but far exceeded my expectations. And to this day, my mentor and I still keep in touch. Today, I work in a much smaller company, but I feel like the work I do is way more impactful. And the opportunities that I personally get, like being here with you guys today, is something I may not have gotten even at a large multinational organization. An initiative that would not have been possible without this program. Now, I'm a huge believer in paying it forward. So when the chance to become a mentor came around, echoing the advice of my mentor, I embraced it with an open heart. But prior to this mentorship, I may not have had the courage to even take that leap. It turned out to be an incredibly rewarding experience as I was matched with a mentee whose aspirations closely mirrored the challenges I had once faced. Balancing industry growth with company expectations and personal life is a common struggle, and I saw my own reflection in her journey. Drawing from my victories and lessons learned, I shared with her how I navigated similar challenges, hoping to provide her with the insight she needed. So today is with immense pride that I share that she not only overcame those hurdles, but also managed to capture the attention of her executives, ultimately earning an opportunity to lead operations now in Barbados. So you see, I sat exactly where you're sitting today and heard someone talk about it. So I would love for you to be able to experience the same. And all it takes is for you to raise your hand and say, I want and deserve more for myself. And I'm willing to do something that is going to make me uncomfortable, willing to venture off into the unknown. But my guarantee is that when you look back 3 years from now or 5 years from now, you will think and remember, this lady came and said something, and I don't remember her name, but it inspired me to do something a little different with my life. And that is what I hope to do for you. So whether as a mentee or a mentor, or a combination of the both, I encourage each of you to embrace this journey wholeheartedly because the potential for transformation is boundless. This is more than just a program. It is a community, a platform where empowerment thrives and dreams take flight. So embrace the unknown, for therein lies the canvas upon which we paint our success stories. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thanks very much. Yeah, great testimonial, great advice. And the only thing I would add is that a wise person once told me that it is not the weak who ask for help, it is actually the strong, because we know we need it and can be confident enough that getting help would be beneficial. So anyway, so let me not try to add to that because I don't think I can, Samantha. Let me just hand straight over to Rayanne Pinto Mendez, who is the person who coordinates this whole thing and effectively leads it, to be honest, to give us an overview of how the program will work. Great.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to Samantha for that testimonial. I know you were great and that you were going to be great, but that was really excellent. And I hope to hear many more stories like that in the future. I personally was touched by your testimonial, and I hope that a lot of you have a similar life-changing experience in the program. Okay. So, Women in Leadership Mentorship Program. I know a lot of you would have either heard from your colleagues what the program was about. We have some things on our website, but all in all, you're not exactly sure what to expect, right? So my presentation is just to help you understand what to expect and what we expect from you over the next 6 months. So, what have you signed up for? You've signed up for, okay, sorry, I'm rushing my slides. So the impact of mentoring, we've heard a lot of it, right? But these two I've singled out because it gives what we'd like to hear. Like, these are two of my favorite testimonials, right? And it gives an idea of what we want to have accomplished over the course of the period. So from a mentee, connecting with my mentor has not changed my goals, but has redefined the means by which I intend to achieve them. And a testimonial from a mentor, being able to serve as a mentor was an incredibly humbling experience. It afforded me the opportunity to reflect on and utilize my own experience in the industry as I assist the development of a young female professional. Okay, so what you've signed up for? So you've signed up for the opportunity to meet someone new and expand your network. This journey, we want it to be a mentee-led experience. So in the beginning, we'll ask you to set goals of what you want to accomplish over the next 6 months. And the mentor's job is to help you set out to achieve those goals. So yes, it is a 6-month commitment starting from today and going on to February 2024. Over the course of the 6 months, we'd like you to make sure you check in with your mentor and mentee on a regular basis. We recommend at least twice a month, but if your availability allows it and you want to meet more frequently, communicate in between meetings, WhatsApp messages, etc., feel free to do that. But we ask for a minimum of twice a month to make the most out of the time period. So what we expect from the mentee: communicate your expectations of your mentor. communication is key. You're building a relationship. So you let your mentor know what you expect, and that's the only way they can really help you. Feel free and open to discuss your goals with your mentor and create a plan towards achieving these goals. Listen attentively and contribute to conversation. Maintain confidentiality of the information shared within the partnership. So remember, your mentor is sharing their experience with you in hopes of helping you to grow, and hope that you would learn from their experience. So if they share confidential information with you, maintain that trust and confidentiality within the relationship. And also you need to be consistent and reliable. Once you and your mentor agree on a plan of action, we expect that, when you meet the next time, what you set up to do, you at least try to accomplish it. You don't keep missing the meeting or target dates, etc. Right? Consistent and reliable. For mentors, we pretty much expect the same thing. Communicate your expectations with your mentee. We want you to listen actively with interest and adapt your feedback to your mentee's learning and communication styles. So it's not one style fit all. We have some mentors that are in the program for, I think, some going on their fourth year of being a mentor, and they would learn that what would have worked on their first mentee wouldn't work with a different person. So we want you to be attentive and adapt to ensure that you're reaching your mentee in an effective way. Share your knowledge and experience. That's one of the main reasons you've signed up. So feel free to share, because we're asking the mentee to create that space where you feel free to communicate. And be your mentee's cheerleader when they progress towards their goal. So sometimes, a little encouragement goes a long way. And we're asking the same of you, be consistent and reliable. Your mentee needs to be able to count on you. So this year, as Karina would have mentioned, we did a little digital transformation in the program. We have adopted the use of a mentorship platform. Most of you would have gone on to, well, some of the mentors would have registered through the new platform. The mentees that came in would have registered through SurveyMonkey and had your profiles uploaded to the new platform, and we would have asked you to go on to update your profile and spend a little time familiarizing with the platform, right? So it's AMCHAM T&T.mentors.com. And well, from today, because we're officially launching, this is what your dashboard will look like when you log on. So on the program, you can connect with your mentor. We have some resources to help you manage your journey. Right, so on the platform, you can connect with your mentor by sending them meeting requests. These requests will come in through their email. So it's not that they have to keep checking on the platform every time you send them something. This email, the messages will go to their emails. We also provided some resources and guides. So I just gave a few tips on being a mentor and a mentee, and Sharon Christopher would also give you some tips on managing the relationship and making the most of the relationship. But we also have some resources here that you could do a little reading and help you to prepare. We also have a mentorship checklist that will help you through your journey. So it starts with how to prepare for your first meeting, creating a plan for what you want to accomplish over the 6 months, tracking your progress, tracking notes from your meeting, etc. And then you can check and see what you have completed over the time. So there's a part of it, I said, where you can check your goals. You can, based on your discussion with your mentor, mentee, and mentee, on the left-hand side will enter the information on the goal and the task that is set out, and then the mentor has a space where they can give feedback. So everything can be tracked through the platform. On the website, AMCHAMTT.mentors.com, if you, on the homepage, you scroll down, there are some guides on how to use the platform and how to use the platform, and we have the program guide that we produced previously, which gives some tips on the mentor-mentee relationship as well. So in addition to using the platform for matching mentor and mentee, the platform gives you the opportunity to actually manage your relationship as you go through on the platform itself. We highly recommend that you use it because it helps you to track your progress, but it's not mandatory, right? But we highly recommend it. All right, so what next? So some of you should have received your emails with introducing you to your mentor or mentee. Those emails will continue to come out during the course of today. And yeah, you can jump right in. You can go onto the platform to connect to your mentor and mentee. And the matching email also has their contact information, so you can reach out to them more directly if you like. In 2 months' time, we normally do a check-in survey to see how things are going. So we do not micromanage the relationship, but we do check in and like every 2 months to ensure that things are going freely, going how they're supposed to go, right? But you don't have to wait for us to check in 2 months. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time if you have any questions or any challenges, whether it's with the platform, if I don't know, you're not hearing from your mentor, your mentee, anything at all, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to help you out. And that's it.
Wonderful. Thanks again, Ray. Yeah. So now we go straight to our feature speaker. I'm sure many of you are looking forward to this presentation, all 99 of you online at the moment. Our feature speaker is Sharon Christopher, who will share some tips and advice on making the most of this opportunity. She's the founder and CEO of Sharon Christopher and Associates. She's a leadership development coach, a motivational speaker, and an attorney at law. For many years, she was the only woman in an executive team that successfully led the merger of 3 indigenous banks during a severe economic downturn, turning the merged institution First Citizens into a financial powerhouse with operations in 5 jurisdictions in the Caribbean and Latin America. She has a particular interest in developing women for leadership roles and continues to successfully coach women in this regard. She has held and continues to hold directorships on over 30 boards. When I saw that, I almost went to take a nap. In both the public, private, and NGO sectors of local, regional, and international companies. She is currently the chair of the Campus Council of the St. Augustine campus of the University of the West Indies, which is the governing body of the campus. Ms. Christopher is the first woman to hold this position. In 2015, she was granted the award of Fellow of the Institute of Banking and Finance of Trinidad and Tobago for distinguished and meritorious service to the banking and finance industry. In 2020, she was recognized as an eminent pioneering Caribbean woman jurist by the Caribbean Court of Justice. In 2021, at the National Awards, she was given this country's second highest award, the Chiconia Medal Gold for business, banking, and finance and leadership. We are indeed very honored to have her here as our featured speaker. Welcome, Ms. Sharon Christopher.
Thank you, Nirad. And everybody's heard me clearly. I was having some echoing sounds this morning on another, but that was Microsoft Teams. Let me just say, in the beginning, when you were talking about me, you said Dr. Christopher, and let me correct that right away. I don't want anybody flying on social media and say, Sharon Christopher is now calling herself doctor and so on. I do not have a doctorate, whether honorary or otherwise. So I am correctly Ms. Sharon Christopher. and that's fine. Let me start by really congratulating you and Karina and your teams for this very important initiative. I think that just the fact that the number of people that you have today really shows how great the need is, and you all have to be congratulated for continuing to do this. And I say to the people here, you know, I have had 4 distinct careers. My first career was in litigation as a lawyer at the Attorney General's Chambers, where I spent my life in court. My second career is that I entered the central bank as an in-house attorney, and I got into corporate secretarial work. My third career is I was in the banking industry, as you all would have heard, and I became a banker. And my fourth career is the career that I am in now as a leadership development coach. And I say this that with all humility, that I have been successful, and I must say with a lot of gratitude, I have been successful in all of my careers, and I continue to be successful in this one. But that success came in large part because of the mentors that I have had throughout, from the time I started. And of course, in my days, when I first started, my mentors were all male, only because at the top levels, whether in banking, finance, law, in the corporate world, it was controlled by men, so that my mentors were all male. Having said that, they were very good mentors, but I am so glad to see today that so many women have stepped forward. I know there are men on this who are male mentors, but that so many women have stepped forward and are in a position where they could mentor others. And as you said, Narad, you know, a lot of people talk, there's this statement that is so glibly made that, you know, women never help women. But what we are seeing today, that really puts a lie to that. So this is a very happy time for me. So today, what I'm going to talk about, sorry, you're hearing me? Or you? Yeah. So today, as I talk about mentoring and I talk about mentees and the roles, and, you know, anybody could go on, you could go on ChatGPT and you know, what are the benefits of mentoring and all this thing, and it will fly itself up. But what I want to talk about is something that maybe sometimes we don't pay enough attention to, and it is the pitfalls. And the pitfalls that in order for the relationship between the mentor and the mentee to be successful, there are certain pitfalls that need to be avoided. And when you become aware of them, then you could prepare yourself for dealing with them if they arise. The first is unconscious bias. What do I mean by that? All of us, from the time we are born, we start creating biases with respect to institutions, with respect to people, with respect to things around us. It is shaped by messages we get from people. It is shaped by our sociocultural exposure. It is shaped by our experiences. So all those things that we believe, and we are not even aware that we believe them, but they are in our subconscious. And what happens when we get into a mentor and mentee relationship, people don't know, you don't know now who your mentee, you might not have never met your mentee before, your mentee might never have met your mentor before. But if you come into that relationship with your preconceived ideas about people, then you would find yourself in a situation that starts to affect how you behave, how you interact with one another, because you try to make assumptions about the other person. And therefore, you have to be able to say to yourself, is what I am thinking and feeling and behaving, is that really correct? Is it something in me that is creating that I'm creating that kind of situation, you know, in this situation? Or is it really something that I really need to address with the mentee, or I need to address with my mentor? And I'll just give a small example. You know, I had been called to mentor a woman in another jurisdiction, not in Trinidad and Tobago, who had been promoted into a very senior position. And in talking to her, and as we got to know one another and so on, she had these, and the woman will understand it, these the long acrylic nails, and one nail has a design on it and so on. And of course, you know, I immediately felt, because I have been conditioned to think that women with nails like that and so on is not really appropriate for the professional environment, I started to say to, you know, as we discussed certain things, I said, you know, one of the things you need to look at is having those nails. You really should get rid of them. You know, you're going to be under a microscope now and so on. And she looked at me as if I had dropped out of Mars. And I know, have no doubt, in her head, she was probably saying, look at this old lady, what does she know about any of these things? And then I found out that in that particular jurisdiction, that is very normal for how women in senior positions will present themselves. And now that is a small thing, okay? But it really brought home to me that sometimes you just can't make just assumptions that are just based on you know, what you think that you know. Where it gets even more ticklish though is when your unconscious bias relates to things like race, relates to things like religion, relates to things of class, you know, where people fall in whichever socioeconomic groups, you know, because then what starts happening, a mentor might say something, the mentee is going to receive it in the way the mentee's unconscious bias is. The mentee might say something and the mentor might receive it in the way that you know, she's sitting there and she's saying, you know, what does she mean by that? Does it mean this? Does it mean that? And so on. So I want to suggest to everybody here, whether you're a mentor or mentee, try to become more aware of who you are and how you think. And allow yourself to kind of be what I call open to everything and attached to nothing. When you are making statements or you're suggesting somebody behaves a way or you're interpreting something in a particular way, kind of stop and ask yourself, am I making a judgment in this situation? Why am I making it? And what do I need to do about it? And those things, it sounds simple, but it's not that simple because, as I say, our biases are largely unconscious. And unless we really think about it and look at ourselves, then we will find ourselves in this situation in which you might be coming to the table and you can't give or receive the best that there is. So that's the first sort of pitfall. And these pitfalls are not in any order of importance. They're just from my own experience, what I have found in the work that I have done and the work that has been done on me. The second thing is a perceived lack of respect when either party, the mentor or the mentee, perceives that the other person does not really respect them. And you know, not Samantha, Rianne kind of touched on this in terms of how people must listen to one another and you know, how you have to give of yourself. And many of you would have been to functions. You know, there are functions in this country. You go to functions and they're waiting for the featured speaker to come. And the featured speaker is late. And I'm sorry to say, this usually happens with politicians, especially, no offense to any politicians on the line, but you know how it goes, right? So they always say, and if somebody comes and says, well, you know, we're so sorry, the minister is late, or the this is late, or the leader of the opposition is late, you name it. And then the person comes like 20 minutes, half an hour, where everybody has either been standing there and so on waiting. And the person just starts to give their speech and they never apologize. They never say, I'm sorry that I am late. They never say anything like that. And then what happens is that you find people, if you're sitting around people in an audience or you're standing with them, they stoops in and they say, God, who he feels, who she feels she is, they're so rude, they're so this and that. And then the message is lost. Whatever the person is, they're standing on a stage now trying to say the message is lost. It's the same thing when you're in any kind of relationship, so that if you sit with somebody and that you are late or you do those things, they perceive that as disrespect. So then you're starting working with them is affected by that same level and that feeling of disrespect. And a lot of organizations now are putting in place formal mentorship programs. And sometimes a lot of mentees talk to me because what happens is they will have, therefore, the more senior members of staff mentoring more junior members of staff. And the mentees always, you know, their biggest complaint is, I cannot meet with my mentor. You know, she or he never has the time to meet. When they do meet, they're always late. And they cut the sessions short. And when they're in the session, they're always on a phone, or they have somebody coming into their office. And these complaints go on, right? So, and when you think of what you're trying to achieve in a mentoring relationship, you understand how that is affected. And in the world of work, we are all, well, not the world of work, because we all work now, whether you're working at home or you work out in an office or whatever, but everybody is busy. You know, there's no excuse for somebody to say that I'm busy, so that's why I'm late and I'm busy and I'm whatever. And, you know, my father used to call it his common courtesy, he used to say, to apologize for your lateness and for your absences and so on. And not only should you apologize, but you have to try as much as possible to not make changes to meeting times, to make sure you could meet in the time, to even give people advance notice of if you're going to cancel a meeting, because that's the worst. I mean, stuff happens and sometimes you might need to do it, but that is the worst thing. Because if I'm a mentor and I know that, you know, I am giving up my time to this mentee, and then the mentee comes, you know, 10 minutes before a meeting, where I have changed my calendar for whatever reason to accommodate them. And then they turn around and say to me, well, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I can't make it in the end, or whatever it is, and so on, 10 minutes before. Then I feel disrespected. And the same way, if I say to them, we're going to meet, and then I just either don't show up, or we're going to meet twice. I mean, you heard we want to meet twice a month. And I say, well, we can't meet for 3 months straight, and so on. They sort of feel disrespected. So that even when we do meet, we cannot really have an effective sharing of, you know, of skills and a sharing of self and so on. And, you know, a lot of work is being done now online. And I'm sure in the mentorship, most times people will probably not be meeting with one another in person, or you might have one meeting in person and the other meetings are going to be done online for a variety of reasons. Not only, I mean, we have found the convenience of it, but also with traffic, also with crime, even, you know, meeting at later hours if people live far from one another and so on. And I want to suggest to people online that if you have a meeting online, check in, you know, sign on 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before, just to make sure that you're able to sign in and so on. Don't sit down and you wait and you're skating in, you know, 30 seconds before you're about to begin, and you can't find the link, you don't know where the link went and all those things, right? So that is the first problem. And if you're going to meet in a public place, and Ryan, I think it was who touched on this, make sure that, you know, there's a space in which you could have a conversation with the mentee or the mentor. You could have a conversation that people are not listening in on your conversation. So mentors in particular might say, oh, let's go and meet. Why don't we have coffee together and we'll talk? But coffee together, sitting down in Starbucks or in rituals, doesn't really help you, okay? Unless you're going to have that coffee at sort of 10:30, 11 o'clock, which tends to be a slow period. You know, and if you go to a restaurant, always try to find a space where, you know, you could be a little more private. So I think that is one of the things that we also have to, so that people don't perceive, no, and neither party feels that they're being disrespected. Then there's also the question of the commitment. And again, we talked about the fact, Ryan again, and put it up the thing about what is required, 6 months, and you should try to meet at least twice a month. I mean, I don't think, to be very honest, it's not my program, but I want to say to the mentors and mentees, I don't think it's really going to work if you decide, okay, we have 6 months, so I'm going to talk to you once every 6 months. It really doesn't help, because you really need to build a relationship with one another. You need to be able to sort of understand one another. You need to be able to relax with one another and trust one another. And so, you know, I really want to encourage people to try to meet as much as possible. And you do not want, every meeting does not have to be an hour, okay? And meetings, and please, I have to say this for the mentees. You know, I was actually coaching somebody once, gratuitously. It wasn't part of my job, but again, it's sort of like I was coaching around certain specific areas. And the person said to me, well, you know, it's so difficult for me to talk to you during the week. What about Sunday? Now that's disrespect, okay? Because why are you asking me, what about Sunday? The same way, you know, and we have to be careful about those things. We have to understand that we are coming together and we want to have a relationship, and both of us, mentor, mentee, we want what's the best for both of us. But you have to respect people in that space, and you have to be committed to meeting with people in appropriate times, you know, so 9 o'clock in the night is not appropriate. And if you cannot commit, whether you are a mentor on the program now or you're a mentee on the program, the truth is, if you really cannot commit to the requirements that is being asked of you on the program, then don't do it now. Okay, you might have to do it at some later stage, because depending on what your life is, but it's not fair to anybody, including the people who have put the program together, for you to know that you cannot properly commit to the program, but you are still doing it. And I also know a lot of people now want to say, well, I was a mentor, and they have that on their CV as if it's some kind of brand. This is not about branding. It's about one, everybody helping everybody else. And as Samantha herself said, Nirad has said, even Ryan, that everybody has said that, at the end of the day, mentors learn from the mentees in the same way the mentees learn from the mentors. Okay, and so we need to understand that's the kind of relationship that we want to build and so on. So please make sure that you can commit to what is being asked of you and think about it right now, even before you sign on to the website or whatever it is. Really sit and think about it. The other thing is the lack of confidentiality. They say what happens in the party stays in the party. And I can't remember whether it was you, Samantha, or Nirad again, or even Rian. It might have been Rian, I'm not sure. And talking about how it is important to have confidentiality. Because what starts happening as people start to build trust, they might start to share certain things. A mentee might start to talk about people in an organization that she considers toxic. The mentor might know that person. That person might be somebody that and all that. And I'm telling you, as a mentor, I would sit and I'd be shocked when I hear things people are telling me about somebody that I might know. And I'm thinking, boy, I didn't know that person was like that. But the point about it is, whether I knew that person was like that or not, my job is not to take that information and go to the person and say, how could you be behaving like this to your staff? Or how could you be doing this and that? That's not my job. My job is to talk through with the mentee, to help my mentee sort of understand what might be happening, to let her understand what power she has to be able to control that situation. Because, it's important to let people understand, a mentee, that they have that power, which is why when Samantha lost her job and her mentor was helping her to let her understand, you have the power in you. You are not destroyed by what other people have done to you. Those things become very, very important. But in that context, a lot of confidential stuff starts being shared. And sometimes what starts happening is that you start to realize when you're talking to your mentee, and I'm talking now as a mentor, that the mentee is reacting to certain situations based on things that have happened to them before. And they might reveal to you certain things that have happened to them that are deeply personal. And most of the times we know what is personal, okay? People say, well, I didn't know, I shouldn't have said it. No, we know what is personal. But the other thing is, even if you don't know what's personal, it is a good idea for both a mentor or a mentee, when they are sharing things, to be able to say to one another, you see this? I want this treated confidentially. So I think that is something that's very important. But having said that, I want people to understand there is nothing wrong in sharing lessons learned, okay? So that you might be being mentored, so you might be a mentee and you might learn things, and there's nothing wrong in you being able to say, well, okay, I've learned this lesson and I want to share it with my peers, I want to share it with my subordinates. And similarly, as a mentor, I might learn something from my mentee, and there's nothing wrong with me being able to say, not calling my mentee's name and saying that this is who my mentee is, but being able to share a lesson that might be important in helping somebody else without becoming, personal about it and identifying something. So that whole issue of confidentiality, nothing will break trust faster than somebody finding out that something that you said to your mentor, that your mentor went and discussed it, or a mentor might say to a mentee, this person is problematic. Understand, this is not about you. It might be because of X or Y or Z. And then you find out that your mentee has gone outside and said something about it. So that is very important. There's one point I want to make though. Sometimes when you're working with, well, for me, as I say, as a mentor, when I'm working with a mentee, you realize that the mentee needs help that you might not be able to give. There is a lot of trauma that women, and I'm dealing with women now, that have suffered sexual trauma, all kinds of things, trauma in families. I mean, I have heard stories that when I hear them, sometimes I can't even believe them. I have to keep my face neutral in dealing with it. And sometimes you cannot help in that situation. But what you can do, and you have to know the person that you are mentoring, and you have to know how to handle it. you might be able to suggest that the person seek professional help. So even as you try to mentor them around a particular situation in their organization and how to handle it, you might want to consider whether to sort of raise with them. But then you have to be in a situation where you have started developing a sort of trust relationship that professional help would also help them at this time. And so that's something the mentors want to consider. But again, it's a very sensitive matter. You do not start a mentorship relationship and say, look, I can't deal with this now. You better go and find out who is the best psychologist or psychiatrist in town. I mean, okay, that's facetious, but you understand what I'm saying. But at the same time, if you know you have to help somebody really become the best that they can be, then being able to tell them about other help that they might get, even while you are mentoring them, can be something that really helps them, be on that journey. So confidentiality. And then the other thing is about defining expectations. Now, we talked about, it was raised already, the question of how you have to define your expectations. But sometimes, you get into a relationship, mentor-mentee, and the mentor might say, well, okay, well, what can I do for you? I'm just frustrated. I am just angry. I am just this. That cannot help anybody. You have to at least sort of say, if you say, well, I feel really frustrated. I have a great job. I have a good salary, but the people I'm working with are really toxic and I don't know how to manage that dynamic or something like that. But don't just sit there and expect your mentor to suddenly say, well, okay, this is really your problem and I'm going to fix it. It doesn't work like that. It's a give and take relationship. So for the mentees, I want you all to sit today and really think through what are the kinds of things that you want help with. Now, that doesn't mean to say that as the relationship continues, you heard Samantha say 2 months into her relationship, she had a completely different situation to deal with. And that's fine. But at least you must start off the relationship with some specifics in your head. Don't expect that to be the mentor's problem, because when you sit as a mentor and somebody's just saying to you, given these general things, I don't know what to do with my life. Well, how can I help you with that? How can I help you with that? Let us start talking about things specific. So please try, if you're a mentee, to try to, and you don't have to have, just try to be able to say to yourself, what exactly? Let me look at some of the issues that I'm having now. And as I say, they might morph into different things afterwards, but at least you have a basis on which to stand. And well, I said about the mentor being clear that she can provide the assistance. One thing about mentoring though, mentors need to be careful about what I have seen happen. And sometimes even I think myself, when I look at in my work, both as mentoring and coaching, is sometimes you tend to sort of want to tell people exactly what to do. And I think Rian sort of touched on it, you want to be able to say to them, well, you have to do this, well, you have to do that. Coaching is a little different because in coaching, it's sort of very specific. Like you can say, okay, these are things that you should look at, and let us come back in the next 2 weeks and we discuss how this worked and that. And mentoring is a more general kind of, how am I helping you develop and so on. But sometimes the mentors become like, like sometimes when your mother is nagging you, and it becomes kind of like one mentee said to me, she said, I just cannot stand this woman. She said, if I make a statement outside, she's calling me, oh, you didn't look like this or this, oh, I didn't like how your hair looked, I didn't like how you were dressed, I didn't like how you're this, I didn't like this interview you did here. And she said, I feel abused. And and that's what it is. And that's not a mentor on your program, I'm just talking, because I work in the area of women and leadership and so on. I have a lot of these conversations that come to me. And I know the mentor, and I'm sure the mentor does not deliberately want to be like that. But of course, you feel like, well, I am in this position of a mentor, and because I am senior to you, and I can now help you become in the image of what I think is important for you to become. And that destroys any kind of relationship. It really does. So I'm going to stop there because I only have 10 minutes. I know I've gone past 10 minutes, but I just want to say to the mentors and mentees, you really are about to embark on an exciting and rewarding journey. The mentees, you will have the experience of receiving the guidance and the advice based on the knowledge and the expertise of your mentors. And the mentors would benefit from sharing this knowledge. I can tell you, mentors, there is no greater feeling in the world than knowing that you have been able to help somebody on their own journey. By being able to share your experiences, that your guidelines, talking about your own failures and so on, and seeing them progress. It's a great feeling. And you'd also, to mentors, you will build your own listening and your own communication skills and gain from the mentees themselves. Because when mentees come to, when you are dealing with a mentee, and usually there's, of course, there's a kind of disparity between where people, the seniority of where people are, for example, in corporate to where they might be level at which somebody is mentoring. But it doesn't always have to be like that. And what you will find is that anybody, the fresh ideas come to you, perspectives come to you that you never considered, that you didn't know, that you didn't understand before. I mean, if I say somebody like me who comes out of a baby boomer generation, if I am mentoring, well, now where are we, Jenny? But things that are told to you and so on, and you really have to be able, as I say, to be open to everything and attached to nothing, and really understand, I never understood that. I never understood that perspective, and that helps you grow. And when we stop growing, we die. So it's a very important relationship on both sides. So I really wish everybody on the program great success. And once again, thanks to AMCHAM and IDB for this incredible initiative. Thank you.
No, well, it's we who have to say thank you to you, Ms. Christopher, for taking the time to share and being so thoughtful and deliberate. I think those will definitely help people with their journey as they go forward. So that brings us to the end of the program today. This was, as we said, just an introduction to set the stage, to give you a sense of what the program has been like with past perspectives, to give you some advice or guidance on how to make it useful, and of course to lead you through the technical and operational aspects of it. All of you should have Rayanne's email address, and if not, you can get in touch with us at AMCHAM or the IDB, however you came into the program, and we will pass on to her. So thanks very much to everyone who participated, who took time out of your day on a Monday, no less, to be here, first day of school. Some people would have had to put off pickups or whatever to be able to do this. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Karina, to you, Dory, Latoya, and the team, I can't put into words our gratitude. I think, very early on, by participating with us, I should say the bulk of the first cohort of mentors would have come from the IDB, because we said we would focus on areas where we felt that there was a particular gap in STEM and economics at the time, in that very first cohort. And the bulk of the mentors back then would have come from the IDB. So thanks, Karina, to you. Without you, this program would not have even started, far less have gotten this far. So thanks very much. And to the team who's sustaining it, we really, really appreciate it. Samantha, thanks for taking the time to share your journey and being so open and honest and helpful with sharing your story. I'm sure both mentors and mentees would have benefited from it. I certainly enjoyed it. Ray, although you've gone off camera, and that's sort of Rayanne's personality, right? She likes to get stuff done, but more from the back. But she really, as I said in the beginning, has owned this program and made it into what it is today. So thanks, Ray, for all that you're doing to make this possible. And to Ms. Christopher, again, thank you so much for being willing to share and to participate in this way. I'm sure, as I said, everybody would benefit from it. So with that, ladies, I'm not sure if we have any gentlemen on here besides me and maybe my colleague Kennedy, but ladies, and if there are any gentlemen on the call, have a good evening and be safe, and wish you a successful 6-month program. We'll hear more, and hopefully you'll be able to celebrate at our Women's Leadership event in March. And you find real value through this program. And you use that to pay it forward and open doors for others, help others along the way, and become advocates in every space in which you find yourself. Take good care and good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.